Okay, so this is Midrash Rabbah Parshat Vayechi and a special Petu V'Shvat. Now, I have to make a disclaimer up front. This isn't about Tu B'Shvat, but it's about the fruit from the land of Israel, and I think it's very relevant to Tu B'Shvat as far as why so much importance is given to the fruit of the land of Israel. So the Midrash is, the context here is Yaakov is giving blessings to all the different, all his sons. And when it comes to Yisachar, the Midrash says that the fruit grown in the tribe of Yisachar was enormous. And how did this fruit make its way to other lands for sale? And that's because there's this beautiful relationship between Zevulun and Yisachar, right? Zevulun were merchants, sea merchants, so they would bring the merchandise and any other trade that they would do overseas, and with the funds they would help Zvulun to continue their Torah studies. So when nations of the world saw this enormous fruit, they were in shock. Now, they were in shock in a good way, unlike the story of the 10 spies when the Jews were in terrible fear when they saw the fruit of Eretz Yisrael. Here they were astounded, and the response of the tribe of Zvulun was, if you think the enormity of the fruit is astounding, you should see the zeal of the people who grew it, the zeal that they have in studying the Torah. Witness that and you'll see something even more unbelievable. So in fact, the Midrash concludes that people did in fact go to the land of Israel, witness it, and it caused them to convert to Judaism. So in exploring why they converted to Judaism, one could start with the fact that they were exposed to this beautiful relationship between Zvulun and Yisachar, but that obviously doesn't explain everything. It's probably true that even in pagan lands, you could probably make fruit enormous because they used to use all kinds of witchcraft and incantations to work on natural forces in the universe, and they could probably make fruit enormous. But I guess perhaps one fundamental to understand here is this: they realize this is what's not going on. The people from the tribe of Yisachar weren't reciting incantations to make fruit larger. They were actually living a life of Torah, which is what God wanted, and God created the world, and they are living a more fulfilled existence in this world, and therefore God, as the creator, can therefore shower his bounty upon all those that he wants to. And that's the reason why the fruit was large. So it's a completely different dynamic going on. Now there is a similar medrash, actually a sifri, a form of medrash, which has another story, and it almost sounds like you could connect the two stories, because that story starts out where people have already come from other lands doing business in Israel, and they decide, hey, as long as we're here, let's check out the cultural highlights and the culinary highlights of Israel. So they go to Yerushalayim and they're blown away. And why are they blown away? It could be that they experienced the temple and all the miracles there. It could be they heard about the history of the Jews, that they were slaves in Egypt and then came to this land and conquered, and all those miracles. But the Medrash actually points out they were blown away that everybody was worshiping one God. That was something that affected them very much. And the second thing was that everybody was eating the same food. Now, you could say this had to be cholent, because that was, after all, these are the kashrus laws in place. And you also have to remember that this is before the Jews went into slavery and came back from exile with, Sephardic and Ashkenazi dietary, diets. This is beforehand, so everyone was eating the same. So the question is, why are those two things so startling for these people, that they found people worshiping one God and eating the same cuisine? So I believe what's going on here is, let's call it the singularity of truth. They found people worshiping one God with one cuisine, with one purpose, acknowledging that there's only one truth. If you take the pagan world, for example, you have many, many different gods and many, many ways to worship those gods. And worshiping those gods for pagans really means that you are making sure that the gods aren't angry at you or that you're bribing those gods. It's not the fact that God has a guidebook, a moral guidebook called the Torah, and God is pleased that we are following this guidebook, and the land of Israel is the land that he chose, and the Jewish people are the people he chose. And since we choose this lifestyle, so a natural consequence is the land is blessed. It seems that once the souls of these pagans experience the oneness of God, they could no longer go back to the duplicity of the life they led before. Good Shabbos. I hope understand the impact that the fruit of Israel had on non-Jews helps enhance your Tu B'Shvat as well.